Hello there, Sarah.
Hi, Brian.
All right, it is Wednesday. Now, normally I'm on this show with people and I'm in a great mood and I'm upbeat or I'm pretending to be, and they're very cranky. Joy, very cranky.
Yeah.
Anna Navarro, extraordinarily cranky.
Absolutely.
Today I'm kind of cranky. I'm trying to shake it.
That's okay. I mean, next to me, you were going to present as cranky anyway.
I guess so. No, for sure. I feel like we've reversed.
No, but we were just talking about this. Like when you come into work with a mood, especially with what we do, there's so much adrenaline and it's all in real time. It's live. It's fast decision.
Yeah.
So until you get a chance to exhale and like let it go and move on, you're going to carry it.
Well, partly the reason everybody's a little anxious and maybe some people are cranky is the election.
Yeah.
It's a week out from yesterday. So we're within a week. How are you feeling? This is how I'm starting every podcast lately.
I'm just tired. I'm feeling tired, not just as a citizen and voting and the country, but tired, like as we near this election, it's all we talk about, not only outside of work, but at work with what we do. I find, politics by nature kind of are divisive, but now in these times we live in for the past, I don't know how many years, 8 or so, it's been extremely polarizing. That's not where I sit comfortably in life. I do much better when we lock in on what makes us the same, and that's usually not politics.
But you like talking about it even when you're not on TV. You're like the other hosts. I mean, on commercial breaks, you and Max like to debate sometimes.
Well, when I feel something, I feel strongly about it.
Right.
So, like a lot of times in the commercial breaks, when I'm making a point, I'll finish my point.
Like you and Joy did like 4 rounds on a commercial break yesterday.
We did, because I was trying. I love when Joy is someone who, regardless of what she seems like on TV or what you think, when I can land points with her, and when I make a point, often in commercial, when she's like, I don't know, and then I push back, sometimes she'll be like, okay, yeah, I get that, and I just feel like a victor.
Yeah,
like I'm like,
great if that ever happened on the air where Joy changed her mind about something.
No,
because
she needs a little longer. She operates in real time.
Yes,
so
definitely. All right. Well, we talked about the vice president's message this morning, or from last night, and you said that you wanted someone to give you hope and inspiration. Do you think that message is resonating?
The resonating is a tricky one because there's a lot of things. I definitely have my own world bubble. I live here in New York. There are a lot of times I don't understand the disconnect of a presidential candidate like Donald Trump versus Vice President Harris. I don't get it. I don't even pretend to get it. So I think the anxiety, by the way, everyone's feeling is coming from, who do you think today is going to win? Like you just never know. So I don't know how it lands, but I know people like me will be touched by it because it's in my DNA. I was born this way, but
just quoting a lot of lyrics today.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's all I have is stealing other people's words. But I'm not singing for you. But it's my nature to be this way. It's oftentimes my strength in groups because I come from a big family that I don't mind that we disagree, and I don't hate you if you disagree, but sometimes I'm not someone that wants to figure that out or persuade you otherwise. I just want to move on and get to things that are similar. So, I think that all day long it's, do you think this? Do you see this? Did you know it? And it's too much. Like I need to move on to other topics and remember that life is very local, not just in government, but oftentimes if you have families, it's literally your daily tasks of feeding your family, of getting the laundry done, so sometimes that's how I find perspective on it all.
One of our supervising producers was in here before we started the podcast, and he was telling me telling both of us how much he liked the show today, because he liked that we started with something positive in praising Vice President Harris's speech, as opposed to some of the places we've been starting the rest of the week, which is, outrage at something that former President Trump said or something like that. I know, you feel that way too.
Yeah, well, a lot of people write to you and it's one-offs, but they'll say, stop telling me who Donald Trump is. I already know that. Tell me why it's Vice President Harris for you. And so to me, the number one thing, and I think we got a chance to talk about that a little bit, is the contrast between the two candidates is the vice president's best asset. If you look at one campaign, if you look at the other, if you look at the candidate versus the other, they are stark differences. You're going to fall into one of those camps. And as someone that needs hope, that needs collaboration, again, I have been in so many places where people disagree with me, don't agree with me, whatever. I need to know that someone's going to grab the right people on the right topics and be willing to hear other sides. There's no world in which we're all going to agree on anything. And I feel like so often that's all the the Trump campaign does, is talk about if you're different, if I don't like you, and they also fearmonger so much. There are so many issues they ride on the backs of people not knowing, ignorance on certain things,
right.
And then they just plant fear in all of it. That is not my world.
Well, yesterday you kind of were ahead of the game because you called out the sexism in this race and what you called as the quote-unquote bro culture rally that Trump threw. Now, today we talked about Nikki Haley's kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Megyn Kelly's on the record. People on the right are saying, you're going to lose votes. What are you doing? They're really calling out the strategy, even if they don't call out what's actually happening. Do you think this is going to encourage more women to get out and vote? It seems like there's indications that early voting is very heavily female.
Women have already been very encouraged considering what's at stake this time. There were a lot of people, even pro-life people, that wanted to overturn Roe v. Wade because of how it was decided on,
right,
and send it back to the states. I was even one of those people that was kind of like, although I fervently believe in a woman's right to choose, if you're going to say the states are going to look different, that's true. Texas does not look like New York, does not look like California. But when I saw the extremes of where that went and the loss of life of the other side, like the moms that are ill, the people that are having reproductive problems, IVF, all the things, I thought, okay, now I don't really trust the states because there are bad faith actors on this issue. So I already think women are compelled to work. But this locker room talk dates back to the Access Hollywood tapes. And I tend to think men are maybe a little more willing to give a pass to like some of that. And it didn't affect me as much. I saw it and I already had other reasons not to like Donald Trump. But this leaning in to the bro culture is silly because the gender gap, the gender divide in this election is so fiercely opposites right now,
right,
that if women are your problem, if you need to court women, you need someone else advising you on how to talk to women because they're leaning in the wrong way completely. They're not just slightly missing the mark. They're turning people off.
Well, they're not looking for anybody that isn't already voting for them at this point. I think you're right.
Which I hope that works for them because women turn out, 82% of women turn out to vote, 72% turn out for men. So they're playing to a group of people that are not always as mobilized.
I think you're right. All right. So before we welcome our special guest for the day, we had a hot topic today about National Text an Ex Day.
Yes.
Which, who knew that was a thing? But you talked about texting your ex today. It's now an hour after the show. Has he texted back?
He did.
Oh, he did.
He wrote, "Tell Dick and Sandy I said hi. It's a real treat to hear from them. I hope all is well. National X Day? Am I supposed to get chocolates or something?"
Oh.
So I guess I'll be sending food to Eric.
Wow. All right. Well, that's going to another level, I think. Texting is one thing. Sending gifts.
He's so sweet, though. It speaks to, we got into it at the table, it speaks to your relationships and how they are. Not only are people you date for, I was with him for 4 years, the other ex 4 years. That's a lot of your life. I don't believe in eliminating the pictures, forgetting they existed, because along that way, you met friends through them, you met their families. And if it was authentic and real, it's not that easy to break up with all of it.
All right, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, Sarah's parents are here and they're going to join us. We'll be right back. We are back and we are with Sarah's parents. This is very exciting. Dick and Sandy, welcome very much to the show.
Thank you.
I want to say Mr. and Mrs. Haines, but I'm going to say Dick and Sandy because that's
That
what it says on my script.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. You like Mr. and Mrs. Haines?
Dick and
We can do
Sandy
that too.
works fine.
Okay. Thank you. Sarah, explain, because I know this story. Tell me how your parents found out they were going to be in the podcast today.
So I know my parents really well for 47 years. And I knew that my mom would be like, sure, whatever you need or fine. And she's a little more outgoing about like this kind of thing. But I also knew if my dad had too long to talk about it, that I'd tell him and then he'd come back and say, oh, about that podcast. So last night I just gave him the schedule and I was like, and then there's this post tape and then we're going to be on the podcast. In fact, you're going to be on it. My dad goes,
well, he looked at me and I thought,
anyway,
now he's going to blame me.
No.
It was this.
yeah, it was.
Which is the same reaction many of the hosts have when I ask them to do the podcast. Yeah. Whoopee.
But I thought if I went through the boss, which is my mom, he'd have to. But he kind of looked at me like, are you kidding? Like it caught him off guard just enough. I needed him to be a little surprised so he didn't have time. Because if the podcast was tomorrow, I can promise you he wouldn't be here.
Well, I'm grateful to have you. I want to get a little bit more into the making of Sarah here and finding out where she came from.
Oh, please tell us about how you made me.
Well, let's not get there, but I'm saying in broader sense. What was your reaction, your real reaction, when you found out that Sarah wanted to do this for a living, that she wanted to be in entertainment?
Her father made me so angry. We had lots of conversations in the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
He
We're back to the original question.
Yeah, no. He said, why did we spend all that money? He never wanted to send her to an expensive college.
Sure.
She fell in love with Smith, and at that time it was very expensive. And I said, I always told the children if they would get in a school, we would pay for it. I mean, it's your job to figure it out and where you want to be. And came back and said, I want to go to Smith, but Dad will never let me. And he said, he gave us a bad time. So when she came home to tell us she wanted to go into this, it was like, I spent all that money for what?
Sure.
I envisioned a different career path.
What did you think when she was 15 years old? What did you think she'd be doing with her life?
Still making people laugh. I really thought she'd be a comedian.
Yeah.
Did you really think, Dad, you too?
Well,
I knew you did because you've laughed at all my jokes.
Yeah.
I always
I
laugh
laughed
at
some of them.
You are a hard sell, Dad. But didn't you
no,
think
some
I
of 'em
used to
aren't
say
funny.
when I was little, I said I want to carry a briefcase like my dad. So I thought maybe you guys thought I was going to get into like a
No,
business.
that would be so boring for you. You would have a hard time.
I would.
Well, it's interesting because I've got two young daughters. They're 13 and 10, and both are desperately, they want to be on Broadway. They want to be on Broadway. They want to sing
go
and
for it.
dance and do all those things. And that's a wonderful thing to want to do. And they're talented, but at the same time, that's like wanting to be the quarterback of the Cowboys. You know, it's a hard path, and it maybe doesn't happen. So you want to be supportive, but at the same time, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, well, what's the backup plan? What are you going to do? So
Be supportive.
be supportive.
That's
Just be
the
supportive
backup
the whole
plan.
way through.
Daddy and I, if we have one time, one subject that's we argue about, it's your kids and how to raise you. And the big thing is I'm very footloose and fancy free. Before this Parkinson's, I absolutely would do anything, try anything. And I always said to him, leave them alone. You know, it's their life. We gave it to them, but they're living it. I said, let them have fun. And they
But she did say have fun with benefits because she needed me to get health benefits. Every time the job, she'd go, are you getting benefits with that?
Yeah, I didn't mind
Well,
paying
that's
for
smart.
anything where you live, but I didn't want to pay for all that.
No, you didn't pay for where I lived. I
I know
paid
you
for everything.
didn't. I know you didn't, but others have
clear.
in the family.
I
They
know
have
everyone
four.
else has, but not me.
Not everyone.
I just need that on the record if you guys want to put that in the transcript.
We can play
I
this
have
at
not
Thanksgiving.
asked for help. Thank you.
And then in the end, though, I mean, her college education certainly has come in handy on this show because she's got to talk about everything under the sun. She's got to be researched.
She's a very bright girl.
She really is.
That's why she got into Smith College from the Midwest.
I thought it would be more like towards teaching. So for her to get into the entertainment industry,
Right.
that was a real shift.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Didn't expect that.
Well,
For
didn't
sure.
you think she was funny?
Well, I did, but I didn't.
I wasn't
I
even
didn't
the
think she
funniest.
was that funny.
I also wasn't the funniest in the family. If you look at funny in
No.
our Joe and
Yeah.
Susan,
They are
I'm
funny.
actually a third place funny in my family.
Like on the show.
Cut that part out. Thank you.
Whoopi and Joy, and then you. It's
No,
not bad.
you know, right when I realized who 1 and 2 were, I was
Yeah,
like,
come on.
I'm honored to be third in that run. But I also think it's funny because in the Midwest, I come from, obviously, they have a conservative background, both of them.
Yeah.
Iowa, even the area we lived in, very conservative. In a lot of ways, I still hold some conservative ideas. But going to college, I didn't understand. I looked like an outright Republican on that campus because that is a very liberal school.
Sure.
So there were times where I came home and I'm in those years where you're reading everything and you're consuming, and I would start these conversations at the table about gender roles, and my mom's laughing across the table. She's like, Dick, what do you think would happen? You sent her to Smith. And like they're laughing and like bouncing off, and I'm like storming away from the table with my hair that I cut off. And I was like,
She stormed a lot.
I did. I stormed. I was a lot of storming.
She still storms from time
I
to
do.
time.
Yeah,
I've seen
I
her
know.
storm.
I've gotten better at this table. My own dinner table, I stormed away. I never would have flipped it because I was scared of them too. But
Well, now, as Sarah just alluded to, you guys don't always agree politically. I know sometimes my family has feelings about things that are said on the show, and they'll bring them up during Sunday dinner when we get together. Is that something, how do you handle that? Do you have those conversations? Do you just ignore them when you disagree with things?
I think we try to ignore it.
Oh, did we do
Why
that?
make an issue?
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Agreed.
we do have some conversations sometimes.
Sure.
Well, we went through a period where we didn't talk about anything. Mm-hmm. Then we went through a period where we fought all the time. And I think we all came to the conclusion that it's more fun to give your opinion, and if somebody doesn't agree with it, let's stop there and go on.
yeah.
You hate
Because-
to mess up dinner.
No, exactly. Yeah, it's something that I think everybody in the country struggles with from one version or another.
I think more so on this election than any I've ever remembered.
Yeah.
I was Republican co-chair for our county
Oh, wow.
when HW was elected. And
It was before then. Oh, HW.
HW,
Sorry.
yes.
You're right.
HW. Anyway, I really don't believe heavily in politics, but I think at the end of the day, when we all get done, we should support whoever's there. Mm-hmm. He has a tendency to support who he wants to support. Might not always
I love
be the
how
one
she
that's
speaks
there.
for you, Dad. Dad, he's right here, and his mouth moves and words come out. But
Well, that's
when
the way
my
he
mom's
was all
here,
his
she's
life.
like, and you know what your father does?
Well, your dad is quiet, power, and dignity, but I do get the impression that
He
She's
ran
the
the
mouthpiece.
family.
well, there you go. Yeah.
He ran the family.
Now, we talked about Sarah's fans at one point, and she said, there's one name for my fans, and it's my mom, because you make up the fan group. Do you watch the show every day? Do you
Every
watch
day.
Sarah on the show
Every day, and I can tell you what you do, and I can tell you what they.
Ooh, I like the notes.
Well, it's just that she talks about it. She always has. She talks about everything she does in life. Mm-hmm. So you get familiar with people. I feel like when I walk in, I know all of them, and I go,
that's
hi,
great.
hi, hi. And I'm thinking, they probably think I'm weird.
No, she talks about you guys, too, so we know you,
lot.
too. Yeah, for sure. Has there ever been something that Sarah said on the show that's embarrassing?
Oh, all the time.
Is that like being thrown under the bus? Is that?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah.
That counts.
Wait,
yeah.
wait. Can I remind them? Remember the day when I first got asked to join The View, and I'd had Alec and Max and I were visiting, and you guys did that cocktail hour. I said, like, people wanted to come see me, and it was kind of, I'd just gotten announced, and I was expecting it to feel so cool. And their friends who have
Republicans mostly, because that's
yeah, but it was
Midwest
funny
and-
because they were all lovely to me, but they'd say, so this is a good thing, like that. And when I got done, do you guys remember me tearing up?
Yep.
I'm standing
Yep.
there like this, and I was
She
like,
thought she'd
why
been
did that
elected.
feel like a funeral? Like, it was like the
She
worst.
thought she was going to the
I thought
electric
they were
chair.
going to be so impressed, and like, this was such a big move for me. It was a dream, and you guys know how long I quoted a show like The View being my dream. So it had been so long.
You
So my
always wanted
parents
to be on The View.
always. My parents knew how important, and Max was like, oh no, I don't think that's what they meant. I go, they looked in my eyes and asked me if this was a positive thing for my career.
In the end, the answer is yes.
Yes.
It's worked out pretty well.
Oh my God.
As far as embarrassing you, there's one story that comes up often around here, which was when we did a Hot Topic 7 years ago. It was called, Is Bondage More Popular Than You Think? And Joy Behar called you out in the audience, not knowing that you were Sarah's dad.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I remember that.
He said, it's
Sarah-
always men that look like this. And I was like, that's
That's
my
dad, Joy. I remember that.
That was
I can
priceless.
assure you it's not men like that.
And he was laughing so hard, he has his squinty eyes.
And he also turned a
we
different
laugh-
shade.
that's
His
what
skin
the
color
kids say.
doesn't always allow you to see the blush. I remember looking out, and he started to turn like different
Red.
shades. Yeah, he was like reddish purple.
Yeah, he's not one to
50
let
Shades?
his emotions
I didn't know.
show.
Yeah.
But you wonder where the conversation is going to go after
Oh,
that.
no, believe me, I wonder
I've
every day.
already been identified.
Yes, it's
She
all
had
downhill
you
from there.
from Central Casting, Dad.
That was pretty good. Sarah also famously showed you in the pool on your 80th birthday in a lobster floaty.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
that
Dad,
was
the
funny.
lobster float.
Yeah.
That was the ugliest picture I've ever seen of him.
No,
He's
he still looked
handsome.
adorable, but he was in a lobster
He
floaty.
looked-
Not
he
many
looked-
people can sell that.
He did not look good.
He looked amazing.
Oh, he did not.
I was a little bigger than the lobster.
I think it worked for you.
I
Now,
think she should show him, when she does that lobster thing, she should show him when I met him at 18, 19.
okay.
I mean,
Oh, we know
on the
Dad's
beach,
hot. I've seen
on
all
the
those
beach
pictures.
in New Jersey, he looks so good.
Wow.
My friends say, you married him?
You weren't so bad looking yourself, Mom, but I'm sure.
Well, I sure didn't deserve him. He was like a mister.
Oh.
Oh, please. How do I return the
back
favor?
back to the bondage. So
Yeah.
Back to the 50 Shades of Grey.
Now, were you guys strict parents? Were you, because Sarah's mentioned being afraid of getting in trouble as a teenager. I think all teenagers are, but
I think
Yeah.
we were both strict when they were teenagers because you got to keep control. I mean, you've got to let them feel their wings
Sure.
without.
Well, we were in a small town. So things happen. It goes around town.
sure. I have to ask, what's the most trouble she ever got in? What's the worst thing she ever did?
and it wasn't even me, but whatever.
It wasn't you?
Well, I don't think if you're talking about the thing I'm talking about,
Well, what are we talking
the
about?
van.
Where you nipped the
I did
mailbox?
not. Nia White was driving the car.
Oh, you hit the mailbox?
Jenny Blauk's parents said to us, we don't want Sarah to be in trouble.
It wasn't me.
What
But it
happened,
was Sarah that
No,
backed the
so
car.
what happened was it was my senior year in high school, and I never drank in high school because it just, if you were even at a party or near a party, you could get kicked out of your sports, all your activities. Right. You got punished big time, unless you played football, but whatever. So, but I was in show choir, I was in basketball. The season had ended, and my sister had gotten engaged with Jeff. Yep. Who she's divorced from, but that's where my niece and nephew are from. She invited me to their apartment and said she would let me drink a wine cooler. Oh. Well, I drank 3 wine coolers, and then I stained her bathroom pink, and we were driving back, and all the girls that were coming back with me, I was like one of the most naive in the group.
And the oldest.
Yeah, so I laid in the back couch of the caravan because I did not like how those wine coolers felt anymore. Mm-hmm. And Nia drove the car and backed into my orthodontist's mailbox.
Well, that would be why Carney didn't know that it was you and somebody else, because they were in the house watching the car.
Yeah. But Dad, this mailbox has come up for years. Do you believe me?
I'm still working on that.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get little different iterations of that story.
Sure.
It's not true. Well,
I didn't know you had 3 wine coolers.
3 wine coolers, Sarah.
I don't think I admitted I had drank, but
wow.
Joe would be the only trouble.
3 wine coolers.
The girls were good.
Are you kidding? Well, yeah, but my 80th birthday last week, they did this video, and each one of the kids said, they asked them the question.
To confess
of the one thing your parents may not know to this day. And that put them on the spot. I mean, they didn't want to tell us everything they did.
No, that was the question I asked them to answer. And all of them like, I don't want to ask. I was like, she's 80. Can you let it go? Like, just.
I didn't know the oldest one had taken our car.
Oh.
Yeah.
She was Miss Princess. I mean, she was perfect.
Right.
I didn't have to have
Is
the
she
other
available
2.
for the view?
No. I don't think so.
The older daughter was the one that took communications.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it really does seem like
and
she'd
she
be better.
Didn't.
And
She's
she
in
did.
communications. The other daughter's in
And she did
marketing.
a TV weather or news thing at college. She had her own hour.
Oh, wow.
That's my older sister now.
She
Yeah,
really
she
was
got her
good
own
at it.
She was much more skilled for this job.
Yeah, is she available?
That's why I
No.
clarify that I'm a storyteller, not a journalist.
I will say, like, I know that even when you're an adult and you tell your parents something from the past, they do still get upset. I won't say what I did, but I remember when I was graduating college, I had dinner with my parents, and I told them a funny story in my head that I thought they would get a kick out of now.
Yeah.
It
Something
wasn't funny, was
that
it?
had happened before, and my mother ran out of the restaurant crying. So it's never, you never get over it. You never get over it.
You die with those secrets.
Mm-hmm. You have a lot of grandchildren. This is the best thing about being
7.
I mean, that's unbelievable. Sarah has 3 kids. You were strict parents, but what are you like as grandparents? Are you still strict?
Oh, heavens, no.
No?
Oh, no. You let the grandkids do anything they want to do.
They can drink
And you
5 wine
cover for
coolers.
'em.
Yeah.
I think I want to have the neatest grandkids in the whole world.
Oh.
We're going to have fun.
That's pretty
You
good.
guys aren't strict. I think Max and I are the strictest parents, though, out of your kids.
I'd agree.
I'd agree too, and I've never met the others, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, he teases us how
Yeah,
strict
you're
we are.
very tough. You're a tough
Well, she
couple.
thinks everything through. She's like her father.
Mm-hmm.
She's being a parent like her father.
Which means my mom loves me.
She wants to make it perfect. But you can't make kids perfect.
No.
I mean,
Not
you
the
gotta
kids
let 'em-
You can
perfect.
try.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you could end up with this.
I love.
Or your older sister who had a whole hour to herself.
Okay.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. All right. And you guys have been married for how long?
Well, you should know. You called us in the Bahamas on our 50th.
Oh,
It'd
yes,
be-
we did.
Yes, you did.
Oh.
It'll be 56
He was so
years.
mad about that.
in-
He's so mad about it.
56 years in February.
Yeah,
Wow.
February 8th.
Thank you, Dick.
That's unbelievable. Congratulations.
And my
What's-
dad had flown back from Vietnam the week before they got married and was deathly ill. And they still went through a week later with just getting married after they've been apart
That's
for a year.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Congratulations. And what's the secret?
Fight
know,
a lot?
If I knew, I'd be making a lot of money.
There you go. Exactly. Well, when you figure it out, come back and tell us.
Okay.
And
I
my
think you're
mom's
doing-
secret
I
is
think you're
back
doing
to
very
that
good.
way he looked when he was 18.
I was all into the look.
All
I know,
right.
he had a good look.
There you
He's
go.
a hottie.
But when I got him, I found out he had a mind too, and he was just, he didn't always
You
agree with me.
objectified him and you were like, let me look at you and I don't want to hear you speak?
Yeah.
I thought that's what he
I wonder what that feels like, Dad. As a woman, I can't relate.
Yeah.
On that note, thank you both for joining me
thank you.
today and joining Sarah, of course. Check our episode description for the number to call or text us. Tomorrow, I'll be back with Joy Behar, and it's Halloween. Even without costumes, we're going to have a lot of fun. Talk to you then.